What's up, everybody? My name's Thomas with World Animal Foundation. I got my hands on an invisible fence GPS collar, and today we're going to be doing an unboxing, unwrapping, unwinding, general overview and review of this smart collar today. It's up there in the price range with the Halo and the SpotOn smart collars out there, so it's being comparable with those collars. I wanted to go ahead and use this thing, put it through its paces, and do a review for you so you can know if the value of this collar is worth your time and your money. With that being said, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button before we get started for more pet tech reviews. Like I said, we're going to be doing a full unboxing today, so sit back, enjoy. Thanks for watching ahead of time, and let's get started. And here we are at the unboxing, everybody's favorite part. As you can see here, it's pretty standard packaging. You do not get an instruction manual with this. You get that QR code there, which I'll scan here in a minute and show you. Brings up the manual. The collar itself is a little difficult to get out of here. It comes with the little probes on if you want to use shock as a deterrence. I personally do not prefer using the shocker method. So I take the probes off. That's entirely up to you. But you get the collar, as you can see here, it's pretty clean, got a slick look to it. Then of course you got your base station. Now a lot of smart collars don't come with these, but the invisible fence comes with a base station, and the station connects with your collar and your phone just like the collar does. The little mount that the SpotOn slides into doesn't connect to anything. It's just a mount to make everything convenient. And of course, you got your plug here and a USB-C cable, Type-C cable, which I prefer. They're a little sleeker, and you typically get a faster charge out of them. And this for unscrewing and then tightening your probes. Mounting the collar to the base is pretty simple. You can see your two little holes match up where the probes go, and you've got that 4 or 5 prong little circle over there, and it just snaps right in easy and lights up. Now this is a part of the guide. You have to scan the QR code in order to access the guide. I'm not sure what the issue is currently, but there's been some customer complaints about it not coming with a guide, and this is always their answer in return from customer service. They are indicating that at some point they're going to start shipping these collars out with guides in them, physical guides in them, but for right now, you have no other choice. You got to scan the QR code and download your guide. Here's the downloading the app. Make sure you download the Invisible Fence GPS collar, not the Boundary Plus Smart System. I downloaded both and discovered that the Boundary Plus Smart System is absolutely irrelevant. It doesn't do anything with the collar. I'm not entirely sure what it's for at the moment, but it doesn't work with the collar, so it's neither here nor there. But it's available on iOS devices and Android, so just make sure you download the app really before you get started with anything. The collar will not direct you to do so. When you log in for the first time and set up your username, password, all that stuff, it'll set you on course to get your GPS tracking subscription. Fortunately, this is absolutely free for the first year of use. After that, it jumps up to $99.99 a month, and that is entirely up to you if you want to pay that amount. All right, setting up the collar on the app is relatively simple. This part right here is your typical setup feature that I have experienced with just about every dog collar app that I've downloaded. It's a basic profile. Just walk through, enter your dog's name. Obviously, you have to put the breed in here, and their gender, their birthday, their overall weight, and you can put a background image in here if you want to, or a pet image. That's fairly typical across the board with most of these smart collar apps, featuring a pet image and a background image. And it's especially helpful if you have multiple dogs, because then it's easier to go through and see which dog is which on which collar, and that way you know what fence you're dealing with, assuming you have multiple fences. If you just have one dog and one fence, you probably don't have to worry about it so much. As you can see here, I'm not all that worried about it. Most of this is testing purposes right here anyway. You can also select kilograms or pounds, whichever one suits you, and moving on from there. The next section takes you a little more in-depth into it. You're going to have to connect your collar, and that includes the Bluetooth. And these collars function on Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and obviously GPS and cell. You do need to make sure that your collar is not on the charger when you first try to pair it. I don't know why exactly, but it will pair to your base just fine. But if you actually have the collar mounted to the base, it will not connect to the collar. And then once you've located the base, it's just a matter of setting up your Wi-Fi network. And I've got multiple Wi-Fi networks here, or I've got a Wi-Fi 6 router, so I've got multiple ones to set up with this collar. Obviously enter your password, stuff like that. And then the collar does most of the legwork for you. All you're going to have to do is just enter your information. And the one thing that I hear typically from most consumers who have used this product is that sometimes it takes a while. And as you'll see here through some of the stuff that I'm doing, it does take a while to do some things, even though I have fiber internet and I have fast up and down speeds. It's still taking a while to connect to my 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. And as you can see here, it gave me some issues connecting to the base for whatever reason, because it was already connected. So not sure why exactly that was an issue, but it was at the time. Setting up your collar, again, takes time. This is just one of those things where you can lay down the tablet and you can walk away for a little while, go make yourself something to eat. But it does take some time. Some people, it reportedly takes more time than with others. But once everything's set up, you'll do the two-factor authentication, and that pretty much ends it. Now we're moving on to setting up your invisible fence. It did take the collar a little while to give my location, but once it did that, everything seemed to work out okay. I'm not sure what the problem was, but it just took it a little while. As is typical with these apps, you got the overhead view, satellite view, which is one I prefer, and you zoom in to my house. I'm creating a fence here that's a little bit short of what I would normally create, and it's just for testing purposes later on. Basically, all you do with this is it's very similar to the Halo setup. You just touch the points on the overhead that you want to set your invisible post in, and then you touch the next point. It automatically draws a fence line between the two, and you do that until you create 4 posts. Obviously, you can create more, but 4 is the absolute minimum. Make sure you name the fence according to who you name the dog at. I almost named mine Aries. Make sure you match them up, especially if you have multiple fences, because it'll be easy to get them confused. And then once everything is set up and you've drawn your fence, it will connect with the collar. And again, this is an issue that I brought up earlier. If you have your collar sitting on the base station, it will not connect to it. Even though the blue light is blinking on top of the collar like it's supposed to, it will not find your collar. In order to load my invisible fence onto my collar, I had to make sure the collar was taken off the base station. And once it was off, it immediately did the rest of it. And you can see that here in a minute. Once I'm kind of realizing, fumbling through and figuring out what's going on with the collar. And then when I took it off, it did the search again, and it goes ahead and asks to pair, and then you pair and connect. And it will do that each and every time. So don't be confused and think that the two aren't paired. It will just say pair each time to avoid any confusion. And then, of course, you can do any kind of editing you want to. If you want to edit your fence, you simply touch the post corners and pull them out to however far you need them to go, and that's pretty much it. So I want to get a little more up close and personal with this one, just to kind of show you what I think about the collar. The material it feels a little bit cheaper than what you get with the Halo and the SpotOn, and the straps are really slick, and really slick. That could, actually it's already shown to kind of tighten on its own or loosen on its own, just because it's got so much, or so little, I guess I should say, friction in there, that it's just kind of sliding in and out. That may be problematic when the dogs are wearing it. So it's something, maybe worth considering. I also don't like this little piece here, because it's, for some reason, they designed it so that it clasps onto here, but it just easily pops right out, and then you got this thing kind of flapping. I'm not sure what the design decision was there, but not making a whole lot of sense to me. There again, I just tightened it a little more with barely pulling on the strap. Then for dogs with smaller necks, you've got a lot of excess material here. Now, the thing is sure, you could cut it off, but with it being as slick and easy to slide around as it is, look at that. It might be problematic cutting it off, and then next thing you know, your dog's playing outside and the rest of the strap slips through the little clasp here and ends up falling off. So overall, I'd say not too greatly impressed with the material here. This is pretty hard plastic. It doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. The buckles, nice glossy look, but they don't seem any greater or worse than any typical buckle. Maybe a little more sturdy than your average buckle, but that's about it. There again, that little clasp piece is coming off. So in terms of physical designs, I have to say I'm not too terribly impressed, but the collar is functional as a wearable collar. I'm just not entirely sure how well it will stay on the dog in the long term. All right, now that we've kind of looked at the collar from a physical standpoint, and I expressed my opinion on that, I don't feel like it's, an incredibly well-built collar, I guess would be the word. The materials are sturdy. I just think with the type of hard plastic in here and the slick strapping that it's not going to hold together all too well. And I don't obviously like the excess collar that you have to cut off just in case it slides out of the buckle. But the features that this collar is supposed to come with are accuracy within 4 feet, which we're going to test out here in just a minute. It's supposed to have its own version of forest mode, which if you're familiar with some of my previous SpotOn reviews, that is, an accurate GPS signal, even if you have a heavy tree canopy over your head. Again, we'll discover that here in a few minutes because I have a pretty decent tree canopy over my backyard. They have US-based customer support, which is something the Halo lacks, but not the SpotOn. The SpotOn's got US-based customer support there in New Hampshire. It works on yard sizes as small as 3/4 of an acre. Now, SpotOn is 1/2 of an acre, and the Halo can go even smaller than that, just for a frame of reference. Just like any smart collar, there's going to be some fence drift. We'll determine over time, or I'll determine over time, how much that fence drift is, but we're going to go out here, take the collar out just a few minutes, kind of test the boundaries, so to speak, see if it kind of changes tonight later on. The app is very, very simple. As far as I'm concerned, I know I kind of discussed it here a little earlier, but compared to the SpotOn and the Halo app, I think it's a pretty simplified app. I do like the video resource library. That's something that Halo does, and obviously Invisible Fence has it as well, and it's a pretty simple video tutorial app. You just basically go through each one that you want to look at, so there's nothing convoluted or complex about it, but those are the features, overall features of the collar. They don't have these little special names like forest mode, off-grid mode, things like that. It's got cellular connection. Obviously, it's got GPS. It works with Bluetooth. It works with Wi-Fi. It works with the GPS, and it works with the cellular. So you got all those different things going on. The company claims that, no matter where you're at, even if you have a poor cell signal, that the collar will still maintain connection. So but it does not specify whether they're universal cell coverage or whether they're using a specific providers. I'm still working on that, and I'll definitely update that when I come across it. But as for now, what I want to test is the overall accuracy of the collar, which we're going to do next. All right, so we're going to test this thing out. I've got it set up so that the end of my house is basically the invisible fence barrier. So we're going to walk over there, see if the collar goes off when it's supposed to. And I know where the barrier is, so let's walk it out. So far, nada. Now I'm under a tree canopy. Walk back again. Nothing. All right, I've double checked the collar settings. Made sure that it's on. You'll see the blue light. There it is. All right, so it's on. Let's walk it again. Now it's going off way early. I am not at the invisible barrier that I set up. Still going off even though I'm well back inside the barrier. At least the paw moved on the iPad, which you'll see as well. Let's try to walk it again. See if I can go further this time. Nope, that was even closer. All right. Give it a second. Try one more time. All right. Well, there you go. It's not exactly the most dependably accurate collar in the world, I'd say. Let's try and walk it in another direction, past my other fence line. Just for fun here. I set this fence line up just outside of the fence. I did that just for the purpose of testing because I don't want the dogs right on top of me. They like to follow me everywhere and get under my feet. All right, that's about the right spot for this line. So that's good. Funny enough, the collar on my iPad, the little overview map, did not move at all when I walked back the other way. Now, I had one miss, complete miss, and then multiple kind of all over the place. Now, according to Invisible Fence, it's supposed to be within 4 feet of accuracy. And I think I definitely went past that several times until I went to the other side where it went off around the point where I drew the invisible line. And obviously on the overlay map, I never even moved. So as far as looking and depending on that for any kind of tracking purposes, I would not do. All right, as far as the pros and cons are concerned, it's a bit of a mixed bag. The app is easy to use. That's always great. I like an easy-to-use app. Too much of this stuff's complicated these days, and it doesn't need to be. Invisible Fence seemed like they kept it down pretty much, just easy and intuitive, easy to access, easy to go through, easy to see what you're doing and why, when, and where. Obviously, the 1-year free subscription is outstanding, considering they only have the one subscription model for $99 a year. They offer professional support, and it's local, so you're getting somebody that's here in the United States, and it's usually easier to communicate that way. It's fairly easy to set up. I did run into a few problems, as you can see on the screen. It also says on there that my battery is still 98%, which it is not anymore. It's been 98% all day. Obviously, it comes with training videos, which I always like training videos. It's especially good for visual learners. It includes a tracking feature, which is always outstanding. The only problem I have with that, and this is kind of a con, even though I'm not getting into it yet, is the paw doesn't move very much on the map when you're moving. So when it comes to tracking, that's a little bit disconcerting. You get the 20 fences per collar. If you need more than 20 fences and you got some serious stuff going on, that's quite a few fences. You can build them just about anywhere in the country that you want to. Other than that, I'd say the cons are the biggest problem I have is that 1-year warranty. That 1-year warranty on there, the small print, when you really dig into it, it says at our discretion. That's limited warranty. I always think it's important to read the fine print, but if something goes wrong with it, even if it is a known, well-established manufacturer defect, it is still their discretion whether or not they replace your collar or repair it for free. I don't like the slick nylon and plastic material. I think it's way too slick. I don't think it holds very well. I think over time, especially if you have rambunctious dogs, that it will be problematic. I also don't like the fact that your yard has to be 3/4 of an acre or larger. I also don't like the fact that you have to set your fence up, or they want you to set your fence up 25 feet away from any structures, roads, or anything. So that pretty much eliminates anybody in a suburban area at all. Sometimes even people in rural areas, just depending on, the layout of your land, where your home is, where the road is, things of that nature. I think that's definitely problematic because it really limits the consumer base there if you wipe out all the people that would have to build a fence close to their house, an invisible fence. That's especially true as let's say you've got an acre of property, but you're in a populated area. That's still going to be problematic. I noticed the GPS signal is weaker up underneath the trees. It says straight up on the platform on the invisible fence that they have accurate GPS in the tree canopy, and it's definitely weaker in the tree canopy. I feel like the subscription model bothers me a little bit. There's not a lot of choice there for people. You get the 1 year subscription and that's it. I mean, you get it for free. That's great. It's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. After that, it's $100. Sorry, it's $99, but that's the only option you have. If you like monthly subscriptions and don't prefer not to do the annual subscriptions, you're just SOL. You can't use that. So the pros and cons are a bit of a mixed bag, and I know I'm going on a little long here, but there are a lot of things to like about the collar, and there are a lot of things to dislike about the collar. And I think over time, hopefully, this invisible fence works on some of these cons and brings it up to speed with some of the other collars on the market like Halo and SpotOn. Don't think the value is up there in terms of what you get from it for $699, which is the retail price on the collar. I don't think it's worth it. There you have it. That's my take on the invisible fence. And like I've said so many times before in my previous videos, these businesses don't send me a check. It's garbage, or it's not, or it's somewhere in between. I'm going to be honest with you and tell you, I think the collar is okay. I don't think the value is up there in terms of what you get from it for $699, which is the retail price on the collar. I don't think it's worth that. Not right now. I think that, there's room for improvement with future updates and things of that nature. But compared to the SpotOn, I mean, I'm going to do a video on that, and I also will say, before then, just kind of an early preview that it's nowhere near in the same neighborhood as the SpotOn right now. It's not to say it can't be. Right now, it is not. I think there were a lot of points to cover with this collar. I hope I covered them all for you, and I'm sure that I will do another, kind of updated review on the collar later on down the road when I've had even more time with it and try to, answer some of these other questions that personally I have, and I'm sure you have as well, especially about the cellular coverage and things of that nature. But overall, again, I'd say the collar is pretty decent. I don't believe it's worth $699. I think it still has a long ways to go. Other than that, thank you everybody for watching. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Feel free to comment below. I always try to get on here and answer your questions to the best of my ability. And if you have questions about this collar, please hit me up, because I'll be learning with it as the weeks go by, and hopefully I'll be able to answer some of those questions. I always try to get on there and do that, so make it a priority. So definitely feel free to do that. Thank you everybody for watching, and have a fantastic day.